So how about we make a preon that's got timing that matches the sound, right? So I've got this Fire font here from Kyberphonic, and the font sound is a lighter or, sparker flicking, right? So I kind of want to make that into a preon since there is no preon in here. And my idea is I want to just have it, flick a few times, not just twice, maybe 3 or 4 times, and have the blade kind of try to spark, out of the emitter, like your flick, 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 and then it'll ignite into fire. So that's my plan. Figured I'd record while I do this because timing animations out to milliseconds. I don't know if anybody else ever does this, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So maybe you want to give it a shot. So first things first, I grabbed this font file, and I chopped it up a little bit, copied, pasted, and I got this. All right, so we got a few attempts, and that's going to be our sparking emitter preon sound. I'll export this later as a preon, right? Great. So we go to Style Editor. Yes, it's dark mode. Yes, I've been working on making it more. I've got settings. I've got stuff going on. This will be out sooner or later. For now, turn that off. No tooltips right now. So let's start. What do? I'm going to make a transition effect layer for preon. So I'm going to select all there, and I'm just going to go to layers, transition effect. Here's the template it gives you. We're not working with blast, so the first thing I'm going to do is click that, change it to preon. So I'm working with preon. And it comes, this is a great template because it's got a TR concat, which if you're not familiar is basically a sequence of events. It's a concatenated bunch of transitions. It's a transition concat. That's what it is. So this is what happens first. Then we go straight down the list. So we're going to wipe in white, and then we're going to wipe it away for 50 milliseconds. So that's the default template. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to have it not do that. Stop. Okay, great. So you click on the outside and it selects everything. I am going to want to think about what happens here. So let's zoom in a little bit. The first thing that happens in my sound is sort of the rolling of the wheel, before the actual flick. So we got this, you're kind of trying to roll the wheel. And actually, I'm going to zoom out real quick. I just want to add a little more low end to this. I think I did this before. Yeah, so this is my, I'm just bumping that up. And then I'm going to compress all of that with some pretty heavy compression. There, a little more thumb in there, a little more thump. Thump and thumb. Okay. So first thing it does is your wheel is rolling. So from the beginning to here, let's make it 50 milliseconds. So that's the first 50 milliseconds. Close enough. Close is good. This happens really quick. 50 milliseconds is really quick. So if it's not right to the click, it's not going to make a difference. I promise. So I'm going to zoom out. So let's say I got 50 milliseconds of something. So let's fade. Let's start our first thing instead of a wipe. Let's fade in our spark for 50 milliseconds. So it kind of grows a little bit bigger as we're flicking, right? So I'm going to fade in for 50. Submit. You'll see me just not come down to the submit button very often. That's because if I edit this, I'm just going to hit tab, which highlights the submit button, and then I'm hitting the space bar, which actually clicks the submit button. So it's like a shortcut. Instead of having to drag your mouse all the way here, if you do edits, just do tab space, and that submits it. So there you go. Hotkeys are your friend. So there we go. We got a 50 millisecond fade. Now I don't want to fade in white. What I want to fade in is some kind of a sparks off of a wheel thing. So let's make it kind of noisy. I'm going to go to styles, and I'm going to swap this white color out for a brown noise flicker. and I'm gonna make it like dark orange and yellow, and I'm gonna make the grade, it's not bad, let's crank it up a little, let's make it like 300. Yeah. So there we go. Let's call that our spark color. All right. So we're going to fade that in over the course of 50 milliseconds. Great. Then what do we want to happen? Well, then I got the actual spark happening. And here's what I do as well. And this is a big tip. So I got 50 milliseconds highlighted right now. You can't really see it, but across the top I do. So I'm going to hit Command D, or nope, that's not right. I didn't actually have those 50 milliseconds selected. Okay, now I do. Here we go. 50 milliseconds. And it's highlighted, and I duplicate it to another track. Okay. This is going to be all the slices in time that I am animating segments for. So I just animated that. We faded in, and now I'm up to this point, and we've got a sparky color going. All right, now what do I want to do? Now I want to show something a little brighter, like for a flash. So how long is this? 30 milliseconds. Well, that's not going to be visible, so let's push it, let's double that, and I'll say for the next 60 milliseconds I'm going to duplicate that, and then you can, once you duplicate it, you can just move it up and smack it together and get rid of this track. All right, so I got 50 milliseconds, and then for this 60 I want to show white and not really the whole blade. So I'm going to make a bump shape that's a bump, and half of it'll go this way into the hilt, and you won't see that because the position is going to be 0, which is right at the emitter. But then I want the bump to come out pretty far. So if half the blade is 16,384, let's consider half of that 16 is going this way and the other half's coming out. So I'm only really going to see about 8,000 at 16,384. So I'm going to go to like 30,000, let's say. Okay. Okay. Now what am I going to do? I don't have anything left to replace it with. Well, we're fading in. I show this color. Now I pretty much want to instantly go to white. So I'm going to type in instant here. And just to make my life easy, I'm going to copy this because I'm going to be adding a bunch of events to this tr concat. And right now it ends here, and that's not enough. So instead of this tr instant being the last thing, I'm going to move the closing bracket down a bunch of lines. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to type just like red as a placeholder. And I copied tr instant, I paste it. And I'm going to type red, I'm going to paste tr instant, and I'm going to type, I'm just extending the events in this concat with fillers for now. So I have things that I can just click and replace instead of having to come in here and type it each time. All right, so we submit that, and I didn't do it right. Let's see. Instant red, instant red, instant red, instant red. Oh, tr concat needs to end with a transition. Can't end with a color. You can, in OS 7 now, you can actually not have to put a color in between. You can do back-to-back transitions, but I don't need that at the moment. So there we go. Look, I got a long extended list that I can play with. Great. So fading in, we got a spark. I want to instantly, I said go to white, right? But not a full white. So I don't want to just go to colors and pick white because that's a whole blade of white. I want this to be a bump. So to use a bump shape, you need to use an alpha layer that has this alpha function. This is where the bump goes. So this color I will make white. This I will make a bump. I will click that, and then I will make it a bump. And I don't want it there. I want it, see, 0, bump at hilt. Okay. So I'm just going to click this. Change this to 0, submit, and then take a look at it. That didn't work. Let's click this, make this 0, click submit, actually click it. Okay, so there it is. So I want it further out, like I guessed. Now you'll notice that this 16384 is not showing when I click the whole bump. See, this 16384 is not there. That's because it's the default and it doesn't show. If I made that like just one number different so that it's not the default value, Now it shows here. So sometimes you gotta just keep an eye out. Sometimes defaults don't show up over here. You can change it by one number to see it. I'm changing the number anyway. I wanted this something like 30,000 to see. Now that pumps the white out a good amount. And it's a bright spark, so let's make it, hell, let's go crazy. Let's make it 60. No, that's way too much. Sorry. All right, reel it in. 40. There we go. Something like that. This is going to show for a whopping 60 milliseconds, we said, right? So it doesn't really matter. So this is going to be, how long do we want to show this? Fade it in, instantly go to white. And I want to fade it out so that it kind of also shrinks. So when you shrink a bump, this is hard to do with one, I need two hands. And since the middle is here, right? When you fade up, see the brightness in the bump? Right? It's kind of tapering off as we go away. Well, when you fade the brightness here, the brightest part is the last part to go. So this moving down can be achieved by fading this out. You're lowering the brightness, so the darker parts are going to get dark first, and it's going to appear like it's moving down. Okay, so the answer is I'm going with a fade. TR fade. Once we start rinse and repeating some stuff, this will make more sense. But right now we're just doing this. I said this is 60, so I'm going to fade this out at 60. Submit. Okay. And actually, I'm going to take all of these. This was dumb. Reds. I'm going to make all these extra reds black, because then they won't interfere with me previewing what I got. So I'm going to click outside here. I'm going to click preon, see what we got. Well, that doesn't look right. So the first thing I see is something starting out here. What's wrong with this? Why am I starting out there? I'm fading in. Oh, this is why. This isn't a bump. This is full. This is full. So to make life easy, I'm going to click this bump, this shape, this color bump. And I'm going to come in here and watch this. Instead of clicking stuff and changing it, I'm going to use this box to my advantage. I'm going to paste what I had from there. Then I'm going to select all this and cut it. And I'm just going to replace white with my color. See how that works? Now I have the equivalent as soon as I hit submit. However, I don't want it anywhere near as big. I think I was talking like, I don't know. Let's put this at 16. So it's really only like 8 because the bump is centered on the, yeah. So that's the spark. And then we go to this for an instant, and then we flash and we fade it out for 60. So let's see what that looks like. So we go flick, flick, flick. Cool. So I got some color about to here, and then a flash of white, but not full. And there we go. So that's a flick. Now, all I need to do is repeat that. You know what? Let's get fancy. After the flicker goes away, let's leave some sparks behind. Haha, nice. Okay, so it comes in, it's white, it fades out. Then, instead of black, let's get my spark color. I'm going to go back to the spark color, just the color. I don't need the shape. All right, I'm going to copy that. And now, after our white, let's show some sparkles. Oh, nice. And I don't want a blue background, so let's make it black. And let's make the spark color my spark color. Cool. And that is not going to be too bad. Chance of new sparks. Yeah, and we're going to fade this out anyway. And I actually want this to not be full either. So hold on. Let's copy that color, which is the whole sparkle thing. And I'm going to go in here, and just for a minute, I'm just using this area as a thing, as an edit area. I'm not going to submit this, but I'm going to now take my color, and I'm going to get it out of here, cut, I'm going to replace the white. And yeah, about the distance that the white went, right? That would be maybe even a little further. Let's do this at whatever, 55,000. And now I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to get out of here without hitting submit. I just use it as a work area, right? What I am going to replace is just the sparkle full blade. I'm going to replace with it in a bump instead. And you see how much that totally didn't work? What is happening here? Alpha layer, sparkle, black, yeah, color, bump, 0. Is it really? Oh my god. I did 550,000. Too big. Yeah, see? So it's not making it all the way to the end. That's perfect. Great. It kind of flew out that way and went that direction from the spark, but it didn't really load up the whole thing. So there we go. And then that, let's fade that out over, I don't know, a nice dissipation time. 300. There we go. That's the default. We'll take it. Submit. All right. So now we should have some sparks after our flick and explosion. Flick, sparkle, flick, sparkle, flick, sparkle. Cool. Great. So let's say that is our thing. Now I'm just going to break this up. Transition effect, right? It starts here. The concat starts there, comes all the way down here to the end, and I'm going to move the closing bracket down with the preon. And I don't need these extra things. Black instant, black instant. These are just my placeholders, remember? So I'm going to lose them and the comma because the next thing is the bracket, closing bracket that I moved. So I can submit that and it's still exactly the same because I didn't really need to go black instantly 4 times. All right, so I didn't need those placeholders. Well, I kind of did, but I'm going to do it this way now manually. So this is my spark. I'm going to copy just this. Copy. And actually, I am going to put a comma at the end now because after we do our spark, what happens next? Let's zoom out and look at our sound. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Actually, let's calculate the total spark now that I got all this stuff going on. So we have 50 milliseconds here. We show this color, and we go instantly, so there's no time there, and 60. So we're at 110. Come down to sparkle, and we do that for 300. So a total of 410 milliseconds. Duplicate that. That's my spark. So now I can just take that. I'm going to paste it again down here, and now I'm going to move that so it's in line with this spark. And now, since we've animated up to here. So now I'm going to click this and go to here. See what happens? You get these lines that tell you exactly that you're in there. And now I'm just going to check this distance, which is 405. Okay. And after this spark, I'm going to need to wait 405. So I'm going to TR delay. Oh my God, all caps. TR delay 40, what? 405? 405. Okay, comma, return. Then I'm going to copy that spark animation and paste it. So we're showing a spark. We're waiting 405 milliseconds. We're showing another spark. I got a comma. I'm ready for the next thing. So what's the next thing? Well, it's not a gap because look, now the beginning of this is long enough that it's going to interrupt. Here, I'll paste it down here. See if I line this up, and you can move your track if you want to watch your line up. So that's close, right? See, this is an interruption, so that's not good. So our second spark is approximately 34 milliseconds too much, right? So what we do is you come to our last spark, and that fading of the sparks, we're just going to do, what did I say, 34 from 300, right? So 266, we'll make this 266. which is the equivalent of this thing ending here. So now that animation ends here, and now I can paste another spark. 266, another original spark, the full length one. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it here. So we do spark, delay, spark shortened, spark next. Looks like I'm going to have to maybe have a small gap. Copy this. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to move it so it's up in line with this, pretty much there. So I just got this little delay. So now we got a little bit of a delay before the next full spark. That is 60 milliseconds. So we are up to a TR delay of 60 milliseconds. And then we show another spark, full size spark. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it. And let's make this a little bigger. See what's happening. 1 delay, 1 2 delay, 1. So 1 2 3 4 sparks so far. 1 2 3 4. Yes. And now we're up to the last spark. So I know this is a 410 segment. I'm going to copy it, paste it again here, and I'm going to see if this will line up without any delay. Pretty much. Let's just make life easy, and you'll never hear that, right? So we're going to just put another spark, but look, this is the end of our wave file. So we want our preon to dump straight into ignition without any, which actually I think it would do. I could probably leave this. I think that happens, right? Yeah, if the sound is done, ignition plays regardless. Even if your preon was longer, it'll interrupt it. But I like things neat. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to calculate what this is. 248, right? So 300 minus 248 is 52. So my last sparkle fade out here, or whatever, I'm going to take to be, it's only going to be 52, which is really nothing. So let's go. I'm not going to put a delay in, I said. I'm going to copy a spark. I'm going to paste it in here. And we're going to make the last thing 52. And then there's no comma because we're done. And the next thing is a closing bracket for the TR concat. Let's take a look. Oh, let me submit that. No errors. Cool. And we hit preon. Flick, 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 flick. Now, here's how I watch to see if it's in sync. I have no idea if this capture is going to work, but I'm just going to solo my actual. Well, I'm going to get rid of these. These are just timing tracks. So I'm going to select all, and I'm going to hit loop. 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to click preon pretty much right when I'm hearing that 5th click, and that should kind of get me going, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's looping through. So that kind of works. And there you go. Now you can come in here. You take this. This is your preon layer. If you want to string this back together, you can delete the spaces and line returns. This would end up having a comma. It's a layer in your style, which, where's my fire? This it? This it? Here. Let me stop the sound. Hold on. All right. So yeah, fire. So here's my in-out layer. Okay. This is a using template that I use. It's got melt, lightning block, clash, stab, lockup, all that. I just use one line because I have all that stuff elsewhere, and I just reuse it by typing that. But yeah, it would be after your in-out layer. So I have a comma because I also have some on-demand volume and battery levels. And I'll just paste it. Bang. And I'm going to select all those lines and hit tab so I can line it up nice. And that, works for me. This is super memory intensive. This is not, you're not going to fit 40 styles like this on there. I don't know what it's going to be, but now I can come in here and add to this descriptionary copyright that came from FET263. You need to leave it in here so that you can get credit and you can troubleshoot and you know what's in there. And I'm going to call preon BC sparking lighter thing. And there it is. So now I'm going to see how it looks. Peace.